Dear valued investors, welcome to Market Insight BRI Manajemen Investasi. In this session, we'll explore the latest market updates and uncover emerging trends to help you make informed investment decisions. United States Zone. The May jobs report showed the addition of 139,000 new jobs, exceeding forecasts of 125,000, but marking a decline from 177,000 jobs in April. This suggests a cooling in labor demand, while the unemployment rate held steady at 4.2%. May inflation data is due this week and is expected to rise slightly to 2.5% year-on-year, up from 2.4% year-on-year in April. The Federal Reserve will meet on June 17th to 18th, though no rate cuts are anticipated. Top US and Chinese officials resumed trade talks in London on June 10th, focusing on export controls for key materials like rare earths, amid concerns over global supply chain disruptions. The talks follow a preliminary Geneva deal, but tensions have resurfaced after the US accused China of restricting exports critical to industries such as automotive and defense. China's exports to the US plunged 34.5% in May, highlighting increasing economic strain. Eurozone. The European Central Bank (ECB) cut its main deposit rate by 25 basis points from 2.25% to 2%, marking the 8th rate cut this year. Indonesia Zone. Finance Minister Sri Mulyani unveiled the 24.44 trillion Indonesian rupiah or $1.5 billion stimulus package, covering fare cuts, wage subsidies, toll waivers, and cash or food aid to boost consumer spending during the school holidays and sustain approximately 5% GDP growth in Q2. Indonesia recorded a $160 million trade surplus in April, the lowest since April 2020, driven by a 21.8% surge on imports and modest 5.8% export growth. Inflation eased to 1.60% year-on-year in May, from 1.95% year-on-year in April, well within Bank Indonesia's 1.5 to 3.5% target. Inflation eased to 1.60% year-on-year in May, down from 1.95% year-on-year in April, remaining within Bank Indonesia's target range of 1.5 to 3.5%. The OECD lowered Indonesia's 2025 GDP growth forecasts to 4.7%, down from 4.9%. Citing mixed signals, inflation remains under control, but growth and consumer sentiment remain fragile. The Consumer Confidence Index for May will be released this week and is expected to remain in the optimism phase. Market View. The Indonesia Composite Index IHSG recorded a weekly loss of minus 0.87%, closing at 7,113. The JCI is expected to remain in positive territory this week, mainly supported by global sentiment surrounding the ongoing US-China trade deal discussions. If an agreement is reached, it could boost global market confidence. On the domestic front, the May Consumer Confidence Index, which is projected to remain in the optimistic phase, may provide additional support for the JCI. In terms of fund flows, foreign investors recorded a net outflow of 3.33 trillion Indonesian rupiah over the past week. However, on a year-to-date basis, foreign fund flows still reflect net outflow of 49.91 trillion Indonesian rupiah. The three weakest performing sectors over the past week were industrials, minus 3.21%, financials, minus 2.87%, and technology, minus 1.12%. As of June 5, 2025, the 5-year benchmark yield FR0104 decreased to 6.33%, while the 10-year bond yield FR0103 also declined to 6.75%. Long-term bond yields flattened, with the 15-year tenor FR0106 to 6.96% and the 20-year tenor FR0107 holding steady at 7.01%. Meanwhile, the yield on Indonesia's 10-year global bond Indon 35 decreased to 5.24%, while the yield on the US 10-year Treasury flattened to 4.48%, compared to 5.38% and 4.43% respectively on May 28, 2025. Indonesia's risk premium as measured by the 5-year credit default swap (CDS) declined to 77.64 basis points. Additionally, the rupiah depreciated against USD by 0.09% on a weekly basis, reaching 16,275 Indonesian rupiah per US dollars. As of June 4, 2025, foreign ownership in the government bond market stood at 923.34 trillion Indonesian rupiah, 14.55% of total outstanding, down from 926.27 trillion Indonesian rupiah, 14.60% of total outstanding, as of 28 May 2025. The Fed is expected to cut its benchmark interest rate twice in 2025, with a total reduction of 50 basis points, following a 100 basis point rate cut in 2024. The U.S. economy remains on a soft landing trajectory, with projected annual growth of 1.7% in 2025. In line with this, Bank Indonesia is also expected to adopt an expansionary monetary policy in 2025, which is anticipated to have a positive impact on Indonesia's economic growth. The bond market is projected to respond positively at first, driven by improving macroeconomic conditions, and this is expected to be followed by solid performance in the Indonesia Composite Index (IHSG). That concludes today's Market Insight. Stay tuned for more updates and follow us on social media. See you next week in the Market Insight BRI Manajemen Investasi.